Okay, thank you everybody for joining us today for the online event, the Cyber Night Rises Defending the Digital Realm. Again, my name is Sandra Riveros and I'm the Director of Finance and Corporate Services here at eTech, located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'll be assisting the team today doing the draw for the $100 Amazon gift card at the end of this event. Before we get started, I would just like to cover a few housekeeping items for today's event. The recording of this event will be sent out to all participants within the next 48 hours. If you have any questions during the event, please feel free to pop those into the chat box and we will answer them towards the end of this event. There will be a survey at the end when you close the Zoom window. We would love to hear your feedback on how we did today. And the Amazon draw will be at the end of the event and the participant must be present to win. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce eTech's president and CEO, Ian Evans.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us during Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're going to get started right away. First, I would like to introduce Seimer Principio. Seimer is our cybersecurity analyst at eTech. So to get started, we're going to actually turn off our cameras and come back closer to the end of the presentation. So let me do that now. Okay, then get started right away. So as I indicated, October is a month to highlight cybersecurity awareness, a campaign in 2004 created by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and the National Cybersecurity Alliance, NCA, to raise cybersecurity awareness, ensuring that every individual has the resources they need to be safe and secure online. This is an exciting year because 2023 marks the 20th year of this important campaign. Cybersecurity is a journey and not a destination. Today, we'll share with you some simple ways you can protect yourself, your family, and your organization from online threats. We will cover the cybersecurity landscape. We're going to share some data breaches and compromises. Then we will focus on 4 key behaviors. 1, creating and storing strong passwords, enabling multi-factor authentication. 3, updating your software. And 4, recognizing and reporting phishing. We will also discuss how you can use AI, artificial intelligence tools securely, and share how you can protect yourself from online threats. So who is eTech? eTech is a turnkey managed service provider. We've been around since around 2005, and our services provided include system support and IT consultation, cybersecurity audits, network and security assessments, cybersecurity awareness training and webinars, data protection services, intelligent business continuity, and disaster recovery services. And we are also website experts from web hosting, web design and development, and website security. We have also been very fortunate to have won many awards over the years. We are especially excited to be named among elite managed service providers for a second year in a row by Channel Future's Next Gen 101. So it's not by accident that cybersecurity awareness training is becoming so prevalent right now, excuse me, and that users are finding themselves on the front line of protecting themselves and their employers. Email phishing remains a top security threat. Now more than ever, they are even harder to spot, with thieves using information from your social media to personalize their attacks against your customers and your business. A disaster, yes, a disaster can strike at any time to any business. Just because you have a backup plan, it does not mean that your data is safe, let alone easily accessible in case of a technical or natural disaster like COVID, for example. And the consequences of a disaster on an underprotected company can mean 4 main things. 1, unwanted expenses. 2, lost revenue. 3, embarrassment to your business. And 4, potential loss of business. So even if you can preserve the data, it is important to recover systems quickly. Everything has changed over the last couple of years. COVID, wars, and climate change continue to cause tremendous challenges for everyone. The one thing we learned about COVID is that it created extreme financial opportunities for hackers. And this is a prime circumstance for increased cyber attacks. Cybercrime is a rising criminal industry. It is very, very lucrative. It's very safe for the criminal and, relatively guilt-free. You see, with certain crimes, you have to be a certain type of person, literally have a criminal mind, not with cybercrime. Ransomware as a service is now mainstream, and there are many sites on the dark web and even the regular web to show you how to create ransomware. And they will even provide you with a targeted email list. Cybercrime is now the most lucrative criminal activity worldwide, and it actually passed illegal drug crimes around 2014. And your business are at an increased risk, and your data protection is costing you time if you do not have the right protection. And this we call the perfect data storm. And it's a combination of three huge factors. One, there's more data. Two, customer expectation is rising. And three, with that comes the risk of losing data. So this is not just about you anymore. It's your employees' time and also your company time. When downtime, everyone is down. And this is why we have to have this conversation with everyone. Here are the three most important laws of cybersecurity. It's right here. If you have data, you have cyber risk. If you have a vulnerability, it will be exploited. And as we know, humans are far more vulnerable than technology. So if we take a look at some of the recent major data breaches and compromises, you will see that there have been a lot of attacks related to COVID. Later in our presentation, Simon will discuss some of the new exploits bad actors are using to steal your personal information. Since the start of the pandemic, there has been a massive increase in cyber attacks in our country. There were a lot of scams related to COVID. So from a CERB fraud email to CRA scam text to Revenue Canada fake calls, has there been a week since the beginning of the pandemic when you haven't been sent a worrisome link or asked for personal and confidential information? We are literally being bombarded daily. And every day we see something on these successful attacks against business, large and small. And some of the major attacks over the last couple of years. We're on a Zoom call right now. Well, April of 2020, more than 500,000 Zoom accounts are now up for grabs on hacker forums hosted on the dark web. And some are going for less than a US cent a piece, while others are given away for free. What's given away, email address and passwords, were sold on the dark web. And why is this important? It's because the average user uses the same password about 80% of the time. So 80% of users use the same password or a variation of the same password. Even Facebook, everyone has a Facebook account. And they have been compromised quite a few times. So, in 2019, the phone numbers of about 420 million Facebook accounts were leaked. In some cases, leaked records includes the username, gender, and country location. Well, Facebook has experienced several breaches, including one way back in 2013 and two in 2018. And this one, of course, in 2019. Well, Facebook was at it again, where over 533 million Facebook users' phone number and personal data leaked online. And this was announced at the beginning of April of last year. And this means that if you have a Facebook account, which everyone does, it is extremely likely that the phone number used for the account was leaked. Of course, many financial institutions have been compromised, and we like to highlight Capital One. This occurred around July of 2019, whereby over 100 million people in the US, and about 6 million in Canada were exposed. And what was exposed? Full name, your social insurance number, credit card scores, personal and financial information, your date of birth were compromised. So the hackers definitely know what's in your pocket. So if you just scan through this list, there's other notable companies like Microsoft, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. And what do all these companies have in common is that they have been breached. And even just last month, wow, MGM Resorts was impacted by a cybersecurity incident, and a ransomware attack took place against their network and databases. The attack forced MGM to shut down some parts of its internal networks, leading to problems in electronic winning transfers and malfunction of access cards at the hotel rooms. And how did this happen? Well, the bad actors found information on an MGM employee on social media, LinkedIn, and impersonated the person when calling MGM's IT help desk. And by pretending to be the MGM employee, they were able to obtain credentials that gave them access to the MGM internal network, making it possible to infect the system with ransomware. MGM Resorts said the incident costs about a 110 million in lost revenue and mitigation expenses. It exposed data, includes some of customer name, contact information, gender, birth date, and driver license, as well as social security or password numbers. And MGM Resorts is one of the world's biggest casino operators, running about 31 casino hotels globally. And we have experienced many increases in cyber attacks in Canada as well. And just late December of 2022, the Toronto Hospital for Sick Kids was impacted by a cyber attack. And they had to call a code gray. And the code gray is for system failure. And the sick kids lab and imaging results were delayed, which could lead to longer wait times. And there is no evidence that personal information was actually impacted. And it's now known that a ransomware gang, very popular one today called Lockbit, was responsible for the cyber attack. Because the attack even violated Lockbit's code of ethics, they released the decryptor key for free. So Sick Kids was able to get all their files back. However, getting the decryption key does not magically reverse the damage and disruption caused by this ransomware attack. And Sick Kids is Canada's largest pediatric hospital. So Seimer, can you talk about passwords and password manager?
Sure, thanks, Ian. Now, for many of the breaches that we just discussed, cyber criminals are trying to steal the keys to the kingdom, which are your login credentials. And they do this to gain access to your company network and steal your confidential information. So it's important that we take password security very seriously to protect our online accounts and our sensitive information. So let's spend a few minutes now on some password security. Passwords are a common target for hackers. Now, in 2022, there were over 24 billion passwords exposed by hackers. This was 65% more password compromises in 2022 than in 2020, which was the last time that particular study was conducted by Digital Shadows. And more than 80% of confirmed breaches are related to stolen, weak, or reused passwords. So what happens to your credentials when they end up in the hands of the bad guys? For one, criminals can use stolen login credentials to break into accounts, and they can also take your stolen credentials and sell them on the dark web. So let's take a closer look into what the dark web actually is and how a person can get there. So imagine the internet as an iceberg, like the one you see in the screen. We all know that icebergs have two parts, right? The tip that's above the water and the huge chunk below. So think of the surface web as the tip of the iceberg, which is the part of the internet that we use every day. It's where you shop, you chat, tweet, you post your cute cat videos. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Imagine the deep web. It's the part of the iceberg that's lurking just below the surface. This is where things like your personal emails, your online banking, even your private Instagram accounts live. They're not hidden because they're super secret, but they are hidden because they're not meant for other people to see. Now let's dive deeper into the dark web. Picture this as the deepest, darkest depths of the iceberg, way beneath the surface. It's like the hidden caves of the internet. Now, in this mysterious place, people use special software to browse anonymously, and they often wear digital masks and use secret codes to communicate. But why is there a dark web? Well, some people go there to protect their privacy from prying eyes, like journalists in dangerous places or people living under oppressive regimes. But it also is a place where cyber criminals sometimes hang out, trading stolen data, hacking tools, and other digital mischief. So in a nutshell, the dark web is like the secret underground part of the internet where some folks go to hide and protect themselves while others go to do some sneaky things. It's a place with both good and bad, and that's why cybersecurity is really important to keep us all safe while we navigate through this digital iceberg. So just to show you how legitimate the sites are on the dark web, we do have an example here. This is a dark web website called the Clone Card Crew, and it's a criminal website where you can buy and sell real credit cards. The selling of credit or debit card information is very popular on the dark web. This particular site is selling information anywhere from $5 to $110. It's a full package purchase for the fraudsters. So it includes their stolen name, the SIN number, birth date, account numbers, basically anything that you need to use the credit card effectively. And sites like this, well, even discreetly, they'll mail you the cards. So your neighbors, they have no idea what you're up to. And to prove their validity and trustworthiness in the product, buyers can even leave reviews for sites like these, similar to how someone would leave your company a Google review. I guess there is honesty among thieves. So how can you protect your passwords from being stolen by hackers? Well, for one, you want to ensure that you're creating passwords that are long, unique, and complex. So no matter what account it is, whether it's your personal or your business account, you should create your passwords with these rules in mind: long, unique, and complex. So your password should be at least 12 characters in length. Hackers use tools that crack passwords in seconds. So the longer the passwords, the harder it will be for them to crack. You also want to make sure that your passwords are unique across all your different accounts. So don't reuse passwords on the different accounts. And one technique that hackers use is to buy stolen passwords from the dark web, and they try to use these credentials on different websites, hoping to gain access to your accounts. So if you are reusing the same passwords, there is a higher chance that hackers will get into your accounts online. So you want to make sure your passwords are unique, and changing a character, like adding a 2 at the end of it, it does not make it unique. So your unique password should be a combination of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. So you don't want to use basic words like password or 1234 or let me in or password 123. Now, you probably have a lot of online accounts. Think of the different social media platforms that you're using online, like Amazon or Uber Eats, LinkedIn, and Facebook. There's a study that's shown that a person with an active digital life has over 100 passwords on average. And if that's the case, how are you expected to remember all of your long, complex, unique passwords, right? So one option is to consider using a password manager. Password manager is a secure, encrypted vault for all your passwords. You only have to remember one password, which is called the master password, to log into the account. You also want to make sure that you enable multi-factor authentication for the password manager. Now, password managers not only store your passwords, but they can help generate or create passwords for you for all the accounts, making sure that they are all complex and unique. And you can also access your password manager across the different devices and operating systems. So from your mobile devices to your laptop and your tablets. Some even notify you of any potential phishing websites or alert you if your credentials are found on the dark web. So remember to keep your password manager extra safe by securing it with multi-factor authentication. And with that, Ian, can you tell us a little bit about multi-factor authentication?
Sure, Simon. Yeah, we've talked a bit about multi-factor authentication, and I've encouraged its use with, your password manager application. Let's deep dive into what it is and why it is very important. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is like having an extra layer of protection for your digital accounts and company data. It's a way to make sure that only the right people can access your systems, just like how you use multiple locks to keep our home safe. And there are three main types of factors in multi-factor authentication. One, something you know. So this is like your password. something only you should know. It could be an extra security question like, what's your favorite sport? Number two, of course, is something you have. And this could be, like a smartphone, a special key card, or a token. And it's something physical you need to have. An example of something you have could be an additional code that is either emailed or text to you. And you can also use an authenticator app like Google or Microsoft, or a secure token like a key fob that generates a unique number at the time. And the third one is something you are. And this involves biometrics like your fingerprint or face recognition. And it's something unique to you. So multi-factor authentication combines at least two of these factors to verify your identity, making it much harder for unauthorized people to access your accounts and systems. A study conducted by Microsoft in 2019 found that 99, so really about practically 100% of account compromises could be blocked with MFA. So it's very important that you enable MFA for all your online accounts whenever possible. And you'll notice that more and more online sites have developed multi-factor authentication. So email accounts such as Microsoft and Google have been using two-factor authentication for several years. And you may even notice that 2FA, MFA capabilities are now available for accounts that store your financial information. And this includes accessing your online banking. And over the past few years, you may have enabled MFA on accounts that store your personal information. And this includes social media accounts like Facebook, LinkedIn, and X, formerly known as Twitter, of course. And just a few years ago, the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, made it mandatory to enable MFA to access your online accounts. What prompted this? Well, in 2020, CRA was hit by two cyber attacks that compromised thousands of accounts linked to its services. And these incidents are from an attack known as credential stuffing. And, username and passwords were collected from past hacks. That's what we talked about in the previous slide where, 80% of users use the same password or a variation of the same password. So hackers took advantage of the fact that many people reuse the same username and password across multiple sites. So this leads us to another very important way to stay cyber secure online. And this is about software updates. And if your software isn't updated regularly, it is a free ticket for hackers to exploit vulnerabilities and gain access to your accounts and your data and your personal information. Hackers are always searching for holes or vulnerabilities in software and apps that you use every day to gain access to your personal and confidential information. So if you install the latest updates for your devices, software, and apps, you are ensuring that you have the latest features and upgrades and are putting yourself in a position to have the most secure version. And what happens if you fail to regularly update your software? Well, if you fail to regularly update your software, right here is an example of a ransomware attack called WannaCry attack. And at the time, it was the biggest ransomware attack ever. And this one hit early 2017 in over 150 countries and over 200,000 organizations in a span of about 45 to 48 hours. And how did this even happen? Well, the hackers found an exploit in older Windows operating systems that had already reached its end of life. And when an operating system reaches its end of life, it means the company is no longer making security updates. And why is this one important? Because a lot of companies continue to not update their systems. It's so important to update all your operating systems from your Samsung Galaxy, your Windows desktop, your iPad, your iPhone, and everything you use on a daily basis with critical updates to keep your systems protected. So let's look at this ransomware attack. This right here is the ransom note that would pop up on the screen when someone's computer was compromised. Looking at this, it's very scary and actually really laid out by the hackers. In fact, cyber criminals are known for having great customer service. They'll tell you what happened to your computer, how you can recover your files, and even how you can pay. And that is with, of course, cryptocurrency. In this attack, they were asking for only $300 worth of Bitcoin. We're going back to 2017, but that was only because they hit so many companies at the same time. But don't be surprised if you hear of companies paying 2, 3, 4, or 5 Bitcoin for one hack. And today, one Bitcoin equals about 43,000. Today, that's Canadian. And when you pay with Bitcoin, the source is untraceable. The transaction is completely anonymous and private. So, of course, this means it is extremely safe for the cyber criminal. And we get it. There's nothing more annoying than having to stop what you're doing for a software update. It does have its benefits. Here are some easy to remember tips to keep in mind when it comes to software updates. Before uploading anything, especially software and app updates, make sure you know the source, where the updates are coming from, and only download software to your computer and devices from verified sources, and only download apps from the official app store. You don't have to check your settings tab every morning for software updates. Instead, you can just consider setting up, of course, automatic updates. And this will ensure updates are downloaded and is installed as soon as they are available from the device, software, or app. And you may have to restart your device in order for the updates to be fully installed. So make sure you do this right away. Even if you don't have automatic software updates turned on, make it a habit to check your device, software, and apps for updates. And you may be notified there are updates available. So make the effort to run the updates right away. And when you're on the internet, you may come across suspicious pop-up windows that encourage you to download a software update urgently. And you may even come across some emails that prompt for urgent action. Of course, don't click any buttons on these pop-ups. Close the browser immediately, and don't click on buttons in any of these types of emails. Report and delete emails immediately. Do not take the bait. So, Simon, speaking of phishing emails and taking the bait, let's discuss something very important. So as we're transitioning into the next topic, we know that 91% of ransomware attacks start with a phishing email. Simon?
Great. Thank you, Ian. So let's talk about common tactics that cyber criminals use to compromise your account, starting with phishing. So what's phishing? In terms of cybersecurity, when we talk about phishing, we aren't talking about spending hours on the lake trying to catch the biggest bite. It's way more sinister than that. Phishers, they send deceptive messages that appear to be from trusted sources, like your bank or a reputable organization. And the messages usually contain malicious links or attachments, or they might even open a fake login page to steal your credentials. And the stats don't lie. 95% of data breaches are caused by human error. And the number one cybercrime attack vector is phishing. In fact, in a recent report by Verizon, it was found that 36% of breaches involved phishing, which was a 25% increase over the prior year. And while there are dozens of different types of cyber attacks, the most common involve phishing. So let's take a closer look at these three very deceptive tactics: phishing, smishing, and vishing. So phishing is like the granddaddy of these tactics. It's the primarily carried out by email. I'm sure you've all received plenty of phishing emails. So let's go through this example, and then we'll highlight some of the clues that you want to look out for to avoid falling for a fish. So in this example, it's an imitation email from an IT service desk of a company. So at the top in blue, you see the fake email address. There's a typo on the domain where it was supposed to say Miller Supply. It uses two N's instead of an M. In purple, there's some generic greeting of attention all staff. Highlighted in green, there is poor grammar throughout the email. And then in yellow, there's a sense of urgency to act. So they're using words like immediately or must participate. So now let's have a look at the bad links and the attachments. Now, for the bad links, when you hover over the link, you can see the URL is actually an IP address, which legitimate companies will hardly ever do. And then extremely important are the attachments. So you never want to click on an attachment from an unknown or an unreliable source, especially if you're not expecting one. So you want to check with the sender directly to confirm that they did send you an attachment before you open it. Otherwise, you will run the risk of having malware installed on your device, which can easily be spread into your company network. Now, another tactic that cyber criminals use is called smishing, which is essentially phishing via SMS. So instead of emails, the attackers are using text messages to lure their victims. In fact, not too long ago, in June of 2023, UPS Canada, they disclosed a data breach following a smishing campaign. So the cyber criminals, they were able to search a package lookup tool to obtain information about a delivery, which would include the recipient's name, the shipment address, phone number, and their order number. So customers would receive fraudulent text messages demanding payment before their package could be delivered. These are just a few examples up on the screen. You can see the threat actors were impersonating Lego and Apple shipments. Now, to defend against such attacks, remember, you should never be clicking on links that are embedded in suspicious messages or reply with any of your sensitive information. Now, another tactic that attackers use is called phishing, which stands for voice phishing. And this is where attackers use voice communication, often over the phone. So they impersonate a trusted entity, like a bank representative or a government official, and they ask for your sensitive information. So this tactic can be quite convincing because it does exploit our trust in the human voice. So earlier this year, around May, June, there were reports of a phishing attack on TD Bank customers. So in one case, there was an Ontario woman, she was contacted by someone claiming to work at her bank. Now, the person on the other end of the phone had so much information about her accounts that she thought the call was real. He could list her name, bank account information, even her credit card balance. And they actually told her that her account was compromised and that she needed to transfer money out to protect the money. So she was told to transfer the funds using a Bitcoin machine, which she did, and lost about $12,000 in the scam. In another case in Montreal, it was very similar, also TD, and a man lost about $13,000. So you want to always verify the caller's identity, especially when you're sharing sensitive information over the phone. So when it comes to phishing, how can you better protect yourself in the digital world? You want to stay informed and adopt a skeptical mindset. So be suspicious when an email, as we showed earlier, contains an offer that's too good to be true, is poorly crafted, might contain a generic greeting, contain a link. You want to check the email address as well. So if the domain is in the email doesn't match the company where it's coming from, it's very likely a phishing email. So what do you do if you suspect that an email is phishing for your information? Well, if the phishing email is within your organization, you want to report it quickly to your IT department. If you receive a suspicious email in your personal inbox, you want to make sure that you report it as well. And there's platforms like Google and Microsoft. They make it easy by having a report button, as you can see on the screen here, to report suspicious emails. Now, for any of these types of tactics, whether it's phishing, smishing, or vishing, if you do suspect that you have been compromised, you want to make sure you change your passwords immediately for any of the affected accounts, as well as any accounts that have the same passwords. And then, in Canada, you can also report the scam to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. In the case of a phishing scam, a tip can be to document the phone number that the scammer gave you, possibly the website, so that you can provide them with as much information as you can. Now, with the advancements in artificial intelligence, AI, criminals are now using tools like ChatGPT to launch even more sophisticated attacks. So as we move on to the next slide, Ian, can you tell us about AI tools and how we can use them securely?
Thank you, Seimer. Yes, AI, my new favorite subject, because we are officially in an AI boom, and AI has been making a lot of headlines lately. And here in Canada, Canadians are diving into new AI tools with excitement, but are missing out on the understanding the potential downsides. Not all of those headlines are good. Canadians are lacking awareness when it comes to the cybersecurity risks of AI. And the most well-known AI tool that Seimer just mentioned is ChatGPT. And ChatGPT was launched by OpenAI not too long ago. To be honest, just November of last year. Here are how are companies using AI to help run their business? Well, you can use AI tools such as ChatGPT to write and debug code, mimic the styles of celebrities, compose music and essays, and translate and summarize text. So here at eTech, we have actually introduced AI, and we're using AI for our help desk support services, and it's actually improved efficiency by 25 to 30%. So we have faster ticket management and elevated customer service. Some of our tickets are resolved with little to no time without human interaction. Some of the major risks of AI presents for business, both large and small, are, of course, security. And with security, AI systems are vulnerable to security breaches, which can result in your business sensitive data being compromised or stolen. AI opens a whole new world for cyber criminals to use AI to launch more sophisticated attacks, such as phishing scams and social engineering. And hackers can even create fake AI apps designed to trick you into downloading them to install malware and steal your data. Number two here is privacy. AI collects all the data that you provide when using the tool, which includes personal information about your company, customers, and your employees. And this can lead to privacy violations and can potentially damage a business reputation if the data is not properly secured or used in an ethical manner. Remember, everything you share with ChatGPT and other AI tools are stored on their servers and will be used to answer inquiries from other people, which could potentially expose your company's confidential information. There's integration challenges. Integrating AI systems with existing technology can be very costly, impacting a company's bottom line. Number four is inaccurate results. AI is being developed at a rapid rate. So don't rely on AI answers to be fully correct or accurate. AI relies on data and algorithms for context and is only as good as the information it gathers. So if the data is flawed or incorrect, results can be inaccurate and unstable. And the last one is dependence on technology. For businesses that rely heavily on AI tools, a failure in AI tools can lead to downtime and lost revenue. And here's an example of a business email compromise, email generating using ChatGPT. Now that most companies have moved from in-house Exchange servers to Microsoft 365 Cloud or Google Suite, business email compromise is the number one option for bad actors to steal your data. Business email compromise is a type of cybercrime where the scammer uses email to trick someone into sending money or divulging confidential company or personal information. The FBI recently announced that more than 50 billion US has been lost in both domestic and international business email compromise. And this is up by 7 billion increase from 2022. So here are a few tips that you should keep in mind when using AI apps and tools. Always check with your organization before downloading and using. Number two, be on the alert for fake AI apps. We have only mentioned ChatGPT today, but there are other AI apps, including Microsoft Bing. Threat actors have even created fake AI apps designed to trick you into downloading them. And if you do, they will seize the opportunity to install malware, to steal all your data. Number three, don't enter protected or personal information into AI chat box. For instance, say you have a confidential sales report and want to generate a summary using AI. You upload the report, but now the data that you entered is stored on ChatGPT servers, and it will use that data to answer questions from other people, possibly exposing your company's confidential information. The next one, don't rely on answer accuracy. It may be biased. An AI tool is only as good as the data it uses. So if the data is old or incomplete, the content it generates could be biased, inaccurate, or just plain wrong. Next, don't use it to write code. This is for developers. It could have errors. Developers actually are using AI tools to write code because, of course, it saves a lot of time. And if you're going to use it, be extremely careful because it runs the risk of generating errors that cause it to be unstable and, of course, insecure. And of course, always think before clicking links and opening attachments in emails. So I will now pass the presentation back to Seimer on protecting against compromise.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. So given that background, what are the best practices for minimizing today's threats? The single greatest cybersecurity weakness is the user. Many do not know how to identify suspicious activity like phishing links or scams because they don't know what to look out for. And what's more, some hackers, they specialize in breaching specific business types or industries, refining their expertise with each new attack. So with all of this supporting knowledge, there's a very strong business case for cybersecurity awareness training. Security awareness training empowers your workforce to adopt better cybersecurity habits, including email best practices and safe web browsing, and also to report suspicious emails so that your security team can quickly identify and mitigate any attacks. And then it also achieves your ultimate goal, which is to have fewer security attacks. So here at eTech, we do offer cybersecurity awareness online training and phishing simulations. So our standard e-learning training course includes 3 e-learning modules. It does cover phishing, safe web browsing, and malware awareness, plus there is an assessment. You do get 3 monthly phishing simulations. So each month we'll send you and your team a phishing simulation to keep everybody on their toes. We do have a working remotely add-on as well that a lot of our clients do find quite valuable, especially now that staff are working hybrid at work and at home. And also that includes Just the Facts series. So those are short videos on important cybersecurity topics you can see up here. So there's phishing, BEC, clean desk policy. You also receive a certificate of completion once you have completed all of the modules and the assessments and pass the assessments. And then at the end of the 3 months, we do send you a report on the progress of the training modules as well as the results of the phishing simulations. So you're looking at about 1 to 2 hours to complete. It is at your own pace. And we do send reminder emails every 7 days just to remind you to complete the training if you haven't been able to do that. Now, the standard package is $49.95 per user, and our working remotely add-on is an additional $30 for a total of $79.95 per user for the entire package. But we are excited to offer a promotion for attendees today. We're offering the entire package for only $59.95. So you'd receive the 4 modules, the 2 assessments, and the Just the Facts modules, as well as the 3 monthly phishing simulations. So if you are interested in it, let us know, and we can get you to register right away. Now you can sign up individually, but we do strongly encourage that you consider signing up your entire team or your organization for the course, as the information is quite valuable and very relevant and important to keep your personal and your business information secure. Now, if you are already registered for the other training, the standard training, then we do also offer a refresher course. So our annual e-learning training course, it covers 10 very important topics from password security, MFA, phishing, malware awareness. Again, you do get a certificate of completion. There are 5 assessments that are included as well. And in terms of time commitment, you're also looking at about an hour or 2 to complete. Now, pricing for this is $49.95 per user. And we are offering a promotion for the webinar attendees for you and your organization, giving you the online course for only $39.95. So in order to be eligible for this training program, you would have had to have registered and completed our standard training. Now, this is a refresher course, so some of the topics you can tell are similar, but they are all very, very important topics that everybody should understand. The content is different, but the subjects are all the same. Now, as we conclude the webinar, I just wanted to review what we've learned to keep cyber criminals at bay and stay safe online. So let's quickly go through the top 10 tips to protect your business and your personal from any cyber attacks. So the first one is protecting the passwords. So when creating passwords, again, you want to make sure that they're complex and unique. The longer, the better. You don't want to reuse your passwords across your different websites, and you want to make sure that you store your passwords securely. So consider using a reputable password manager with multi-factor authentication enabled for convenience and the added layer of security. Number two is to use two-factor authentication. So make sure this is enabled for all of your accounts where it is possible. Even if hackers steal your password, they still can't get into your accounts if they do not have access to all of your factors, so your fingerprints or your authenticator code. Number three is to automate software updates. So make sure that you keep your software operating systems and your applications up to date with updates and patches. So remember that hackers, they're looking for vulnerabilities to exploit in the software that you're using. So make sure that you install all software and OS updates when they're available, and also consider, setting up the automatic updates so you don't have to run into any problems. Number four is to think twice before clicking on links. If you do receive an email asking you to do something like logging in or clicking on a link urgently, confirm that it is real by contacting the sender through a different channel. Remember to trust but verify, especially in the case of phishing over phone calls. Be suspicious of attachments. When you do receive emails with attachments, make sure that you open attachments that are from trusted, reliable sources, no matter how real the attachment might look. And also check the file extension. Be suspicious of .exe files or executable files. And as we mentioned earlier, contact the sender through a different channel to confirm the attachment was sent from them. So don't reply to the email, the suspicious email. Instead, create a fresh new email or pick up the phone and give them a call. Number six is to use AI tools securely. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is here to stay. So remember to do everything you can to use AI as secure as possible. Train your staff to be safe online. Stay informed about the latest cybersecurity threats and best practices. You want to educate your staff and yourself, even your family members and your friends online. Think about it. If someone you know gets compromised, cyber criminals may gain access to their address books, which might contain your contact information, putting you and your organization at risk as well. Beware of strange networks. We've all connected to public wireless networks at coffee shops, airports, or hotels. While it's quite convenient and free, it can also be risky, as others can potentially spy on your online activity. If you must connect to a public Wi-Fi network, make sure that you're connecting to a legitimate network and don't conduct sensitive tasks like online banking while you are on the public Wi-Fi. And for added security, you should also consider using a VPN or virtual private network or even a personal mobile hotspot. Number 9 is to create data backups. Backups ensure that your data is safe even if your device is compromised. If your device gets infected with ransomware, backups can help you restore your data without having to pay the ransom. So we do recommend that you back up your important data on a regular basis, and also test restoring the backed up data so that you're prepared in case it does happen. And number 10 is to review and refresh processes. Lastly, staying secure in the digital age is an ongoing effort. Regularly reviewing and updating your cybersecurity practices is essential. Cyber threats are constantly evolving, so your defenses should too. And this concludes our webinar. So as we roll the credits on today's session, we are open to questions, which you can either enter into the chat, or you can enter in the chat box. But before we do that, we would like to run our Amazon gift card draw, which Sandra is going to help us with. So Sandra?
Okay, thank you, Seimer, and thanks, Ian. That was great and was a lot of information. Definitely some good tips to think about, and remember to always think twice before clicking things and verifying that the information is valid that you're trying to click on. So we're excited to give away an Amazon gift card as a thank you for you joining us today. I have put all of the participant names in a spin the wheel. And this will select a name here on my side. The participant must be in attendance to win. So we'll see whose name will get pulled from the draw here. Okay, and the winner is Gary W. Let me just double check that Gary is still here in our presentation, but I believe so. So Gary W., you've won the Amazon gift card. We will be sending that out within 48 hours. It'll be sent via email to the email that you registered for the event for. So congratulations.
Congrats, Gary. Thanks, Sandra. That was pretty cool how we did the sound effect there. We have a couple minutes. So I saw quite a few questions. There's one, Simon, that we always get this question. It has to do with password manager applications. And we talked about two-factor authentication. So that's critical to secure all your accounts. But, what I read recently is that the average user, like all these people on the call, have to manage over 200 passwords from personal and business. And since COVID, that's probably grown to maybe 300 or 400. So we say passwords should be unique. The longer, the better, case sensitive. Our brain is not a computer. My brain is not AI. So so do you recommend password manager applications? And if you do, are there some that you can, recommend for people on the call today? Because I did see some in the list.
Yeah, 100%. So totally 100% recommend using a password manager. If you haven't used any before, I mentioned it before, it's an encrypted digital vault. So to access it, you do have to remember the master password. You want to make sure you enable multi-factor authentication. But what they can do is they store your passwords, they can create and generate the passwords. They can remind you when to change your passwords, and they can actually review your passwords to make sure that they are secure over time. There's different kinds that you can choose from. There's cloud-based and local. So whatever your preference is, there's free and there's paid options as well. And then there's personal, and then there's business. So your organization can use it, or you can use it personally, and you can use it. There's family plans as well in case you're sharing passwords. Some of the ones that you'll hear about if you're doing reviews is Dashlane, 1Password, Bitwarden, and KeePass. Those are some of the top ones that you'll read about. But definitely I recommend that you go online and do some reviews, go to different sites and see which features you're interested in using.
Okay, that's great. And actually at eTech, we do make it mandatory that all our staff use a password manager application. There are some situations where, so two questions. One, what happens if, you don't have a password manager application, but you still want to be as secure as possible? That's one. And two, every time I go to a site, I use Chrome, Firefox, and other browsers. They're prompting me to save my password in the browser. Do you recommend that, that we should be saving our password in the browser when we, as soon as I put my credentials in, I get a pop-up, do you want to save it in my Chrome? So those are the two questions.
Okay, first question. Wait, what was the first question?
Well, one was about like a passphrase. So if you're not able
to
using
a passphrase, so definitely. So if you don't want to use a password manager, maybe it's not for you. One of the tips to creating passwords, because there's so many, there's too many to remember, is to use a passphrase. So using a favorite line from a movie, I think the ones that we were always giving was from Romeo and Juliet. So Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Any kind of line like that from your favorite movie. Consider using that as your password, because it's complex and it will be quite long, right? So it will be less capable to be hacked. Now, in terms of web browsers, we definitely, when being prompted to save it, we definitely do not recommend that you say yes to that. Do not use the web browsers. And the main reason is that they're very easy to break into. They're not secure, right? So if someone gains access to your computer or your mobile device, they can access your saved passwords through the browser, right? And then if they gain access to your browser, then they can connect to your computer remotely and steal that information as well. So we definitely don't recommend that, and we recommend using the password manager. And if you have the password manager installed and the add-on on your browser, it'll actually save into your password manager instead, so not through the web browser. That's the safer
Okay,
option.
thank you. Yeah, that's very important tips there on, password managers, and if you're not able to. We can spend a lot of time talking about other forms of security like VPN, Wi-Fi. We can spend a whole hour just talking about Wi-Fi. VPN, yeah, thanks, Raphael. I know Raphael, he's a cybersecurity expert, and I see that he's recommended quite a few VPN applications that you can use. Because someone did ask the question if they recommend any VPN applications. So yes, obviously, the more secure you can be when working online, the better. So VPN is, recommended. And if you're not on VPN, well, use all the secure resources that we mentioned today from cybersecurity awareness training. If your staff do not have cybersecurity awareness training, it's very important that your staff does, because we see this organizations that don't have cybersecurity awareness training, their phishing click rate is anywhere from 20% and above, right? That's what we see. Most organizations without any type of training, at least 2 out of 10 staff will click on everything. With proper cybersecurity awareness training, that's e-learning modules, phishing simulations that are sent monthly, you're looking at about 5% or less. So that's our goal, is to get your phishing click rate to 0% if we can. So we're pretty much done. I'd like to thank Simer and Sandra. We worked hard, and our marketing team creating the deck today. We put a lot of work into our presentation. I hope it was valuable to everyone on the call today, and we look forward to seeing you and everyone on other presentations.